with Hio, essentially for us, if people are building community on Hio, if they're inviting friends, if they're sharing playlists, if they're sharing music or podcasts, you can get rewarded in Hio. And then with that Hio, you can use it to, for discounts on subscriptions or for exclusive content, etc., and tipping.
Welcome back to another episode of Bitfinex Talks. I'm your host, Ricardo Martinez, and today I am very, very happy to be joined by Ryder Havdale, who is the co-founder of Hio Music, which is a Spotify-like app that's decentralized, that's on the Solana network. Ryder, how are you? I haven't talked to you since El Salvador.
Ricardo, it's great to see you, man. I'm here, and I just came down to Palm Springs to visit the folks. They try and get away once a year. And we're sitting here on a golf course, and yeah, we're good.
Nice. It looks like you got nice weather.
Oh, it's beautiful out. Yeah.
It's been rainy here, but today it's a nice sunny day. I'm doing good. Having a mellow afternoon, and yeah. So what's new, Ryder? What's going on with Hio?
Yeah, I mean, we're just building and building. There's 8 of us on the team. And we just went into a new raise, so we're raising funds, and we've got catalog piling on, and we're Hio is a brand new music streaming platform. Essentially, it's a suite of tools for creators to actually build a business in app. Obviously, a lot of people have been complaining about the way that music streaming's been going for years, and we're offering a different solution. With our model, it's 100%. 100% of subscriptions go to rights owners. So if you listen to one song that month and you're paying $10, that song's allocated $10. If you listen to 1,000 songs, your $10 gets split 1,000 ways. But also, it's subscribed to support. So you could pay more if you want. You could pay $5, you could pay $100 a month, knowing that 100% goes, to who you're listening to. But yeah, we finally dropping some awesome features. I was just at the Junos in Vancouver last weekend.
Okay.
And people were excited to see listener data, pulling out my phone and being like, here's who listened to me in the last month. And the next step on that is as an artist, I can reach out to those people and go, I'm playing a show in Colombia next week. Why don't you come out? And, that's all these things are going in. The listener data is now in, but for artists, it's the one business, the music business. If you're selling beads on Etsy, who is buying your product. On Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, Apple Music, you don't have access to that data. You don't know who's listening. I can see that 100 people are listening to me in El Zonte, El Salvador, but I have no idea who they are and no access to them in traditional music streaming. So we're essentially out here. We're all musicians. We've got some legends on the team, and we're out to change the game in music streaming. So, but the business for us, obviously we're giving the business of music streaming and these unique tools to the artists. Our business is everything around it. Whether that's merch, whether that's ticketing, etc. So we're starting, building the best product, best music streaming platform out there, and the business will come around that.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Can anyone just put their music on Hio? Because I've noticed with Spotify or these other streaming platforms, you now need an intermediary to even put your music on the platform. You have to go through DistroKid or one of these other companies that offer a service to get you listed on a streaming platform. And before, it didn't used to be like that. Now it seems like they've got gatekeepers stopping people from even putting their music on the streaming platforms.
It is wild. You have to go through a distributor to get your music on the top. There's roughly a dozen main distributors. You've got your DistroKid, you've got Believe, The Orchard, Fuga, all the way up to Universal. Now, there are a few platforms out there where you can, upload user-generated content. So that would be YouTube, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, where you can upload directly without going through a distributor. Now, where Hio is unique is it's both. So we've got our head of licensing. He used to do Dick Huey. He was at the He was at Spotify in 2011. He was the first guy in the States connecting all those deals. So on our back end, we can auto ingest straight from distributors. And so now we're just getting through those deals. But at the same time, if you're a small artist, or you recorded a show last night, something you played, you can upload it directly to Heo. So like an artist, like one of my favorite artists, Dan Mangan, he's a bit of a folk icon in Canada. He just uploaded 30, an hour, 30 wave files that are like each show from his last tour. And that's cool. Wow. It's like when with Spotify and that, it's like people are uploading the album or maybe singles that they've done, over the last year. But, it's also, if you do a demo or you want to test stuff out, I mean, Heo is the perfect place for it. You can upload it directly. It takes you 2 minutes and boom, your show from last night's up. So yeah, we're right in the mix of user-generated content and, commercially released content. But also, there's a unique tie into Solana. So if you upload an album from last night and say you want to, sell tickets or, essentially when you upload an album directly to Heo, you're actually minting a digital asset, so like if you decide to sell, say it's like 50 copies of it, maybe it's a pre-release and it's going to come out in a month. But essentially what's happening, if you monetize it for a price, you're actually minting an NFT. No one needs to know that. NFTs are a bad word these days, but you're essentially minting a digital asset onto Solana. So, that's creates some really unique opportunities. Say, Ricardo, you're having a backyard birthday party. Shortly, you'll be able to sell, tickets to your backyard party. I don't know, $10. Maybe there's 100 tickets. They're actually NFTs in the future. I mean, because it's like supercharging content. If you've sold these tickets to your backyard barbecue, 10 years later, you can still reward people who have that NFT, that digital certificate. So, for most artists, they don't want to know what's under the hood. Like they just want, it's like
to make music.
Yeah. Like when you're listening to music, you're not listening to like wave files or FLAC files or MP3s or MP4s. You're listening to music. And so, with us, it's like, yeah, we've got some cool tech under the hood, but for most listeners and most artists, they don't need to know that. I mean, an artist just wants to make more money on their music, or any money on their music. Even going through DistroKid, you got to pay your $50 a year, whatever, to have that.
Yeah, it's crazy that they're making money on both ends, like from the streaming platform and also from the artist.
Dude, artists are it's always artists last. And that's our mission, is artists first. Like, that's what I care about. That's why we're in this. It's like, it's my great love and passion, and also just changing this fucking paradigm.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point that you just brought up, because like a year or two ago, I remember like a lot of people talking about ticketing and NFTs and that kind of dynamic. Has the industry started moving that way, like in regards to like concerts and selling seats at an event?
I mean, ticketing is a little bit further down our roadmap as far as like advertising, like that component of it, building that really like solidly into place. Our first main focus here is like full catalog, same 100 million tracks. Next is merch. But yeah, the subscriptions are actually going in next week, which is going to be like, finally we can prove our use case on this. We've been eating the cost of streaming. Ticketing will be a little bit later, but as far as ticketing, I mean, the main problem I think in Web3 has always been, these friction points, which are connecting a wallet. So for us, it's like, you don't need to connect a wallet. You can pay, with your credit card if you want. Now, if you want to sell that ticket or that NFT off platform, yeah, you can connect a wallet, but it's not like, for ticketing NFT platforms, that's always been, I would say, a big friction point for any Web3 piece. It's like a certain learning curve that's kept most of the population out of this world.
Yeah, I could see that being like a barrier to entry for just like somebody that wants to go to an event and has no clue about crypto. You start throwing things like NFTs at them, and they're just like, "What?" Like
they're like, "I'm out of here."
yeah.
But I mean, with in ticketing too, it's like, Ticketmaster's got such a monopoly on the whole market. But there's cool, new ticketing platforms popping up. But yeah, we look forward to being able to actually take a chunk out of that market. I mean, it's a huge market.
Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of like Spotify, I know that they've kind of branched out from focusing solely on music, and now they have like podcasts as well on the platform. Are you guys looking to add podcasts, or are you going to focus strictly on music?
I mean, podcasts, one of our CMO, Arthur Falls, he's an old school, I mean, he used to work at Definity and Consensus, but he's big on, he also had a podcast in 2013, which somebody else has started using the same name, but Beyond Bitcoin.
Okay.
I think he was the first like podcast that was in the space that wasn't about Bitcoin. He's big on podcasts. So it is something we'll be integrating RSS feeds shortly. It is something that we would love to be like rocking proper, but that's again on our roadmap here.
Yeah. No, I would like to see that too, because like, I don't know if you're familiar with the podcasting 2.0 movement, but Adam Curry, like the guy that invented podcasting, started a podcast index, which is like a central like repository, I guess, of all the different podcasts, like to kind of take the monopoly out of Apple's hands. He made like an open source one that anybody can list on. And then they've incorporated Lightning Network like into a bunch of podcasting 2.0 apps where you can like stream Satoshis to your podcast that you're listening to. Like as a listener, you can tip the creator, and you can also like share and add some Satoshis to it that go to the creator. Like if you really like the podcast, you can like make clips and then share a clip, and like the sats that you put up to do that will go directly to the creator. So it would be super cool to diversify like that kind of monetization with a different coin, like aside from Lightning Network.
Dude, 100%. I mean, I literally just wrote that down. I'm like, Adam Curry, Ricardo, I gotta do a little deep dive on that. I mean, on Hio, it's like your podcast. If you upload a podcast and you're getting people checking it out, if they're paying a subscription, you're getting some of their engagement that month. So you're getting revenue from that podcast. It goes into the mix. It's like, if I only listen to your podcast and I'm paying $10, you're getting my $10, right?
Yeah.
So like there's that, but also with Hio, essentially we launched Hio is like air miles for music. It's like our utility rewards program token. So with Hio, essentially for us, if people are building community on Hio, if they're inviting friends, if they're sharing playlists, if they're sharing music or podcasts, you can get rewarded in Hio. And then with that Hio, you can use it to, for discounts on subscriptions or for exclusive content, etc., and tipping. So like that will be a thing that's getting built further. The utility for our personal token. Essentially, it'd be like tipping sats, except it's tipping Hio.
Yeah. And I guess for musicians out there that are interested in putting their music on Hio, like what are all the like different ways that you guys have implemented so that they can like monetize their music?
I mean, the biggie is just every piece of content on Hio is part of, is getting monetized as far as all monies that go in, go out, as far as fiat, like everything that's going in, soon to be crypto payments too for subscriptions, but any monies that are going in is going out. So, I mean, that's the biggie. Is just the second big one is being able to see what you've made. When I hit 1 million streams on Spotify for a song called Tokyo, I literally was like, I started my first record label 2004. I've played hundreds of shows, but I was like, we just hit 1 million streams. Did we get paid on this? Because you can't see it.
How much like do you even like? It's like nothing that you even make on 1 million streams, like, right? Like how much would you even get?
So, I mean, it's okay. So one, I call up the label, it was 604. Like, did we get paid on that track, Tokyo? They're like, oh yeah. We'll send you a check. I'm like, okay. So, a couple of weeks later, I get a check, and it was $1,001. So what it meant was $4,004 had come in right when we hit 1 million streams. So the label took half. It was a 50-50 deal. And then me and Latch, the other producer, both got $1,001. Now, for 1 million streams, getting $4,000, that was almost exactly on the nose of 0.004 cents a stream. So that's how it worked out for us. But that was also the genesis of Hio, because it was like, once you do a Google on Spotify, I mean, they obfuscate the numbers. Like, it's wild once you start digging into it. But like, you know, they're like, well, most people listen to 25 hours of music a month. Now, when you split up, when you start deep diving on it, you know, most songs are 3 minutes and 17 seconds. That's the average song length on Spotify.
Okay.
So if you split up 25 hours by 3 minutes and 17 seconds, it comes to 457 songs a month is the average listening. Now,
Okay.
there's different studies on this. Some people are saying it's up to 1,600 streams a month on the way high end, but like, but let's just say it's 457. If I times 457 streams by 0.004, which I know made it to our label, that's $1.83. So where did the other, you know, $8.17 go? So I mean, basically, like that kicked off our really diving into the model. And you know, initially it was like, okay, well, we'll do the same, you know, Spotify title deeds. They all roughly take 30%, and you know, say they pay out $7. But you know, from that $7, I mean, this gets deep. We don't have to dive so deep, but like, pool it. They pool that $7 from everybody, and then they go, okay, well, Drake had 1% of all streams, so we'll give him 1% of all that money. And
Yeah.
you know, but they've got like, you know, they just got busted for having a production shop that does like easy listening, you know, beats and stuff that are in that pool, so that they don't have to pay out for all the music that Spotify's literally creating to add to that pool, which is wild. Also, you also now have to get 1,000 streams before you make anything. So most music on Spotify does not have 1,000 streams, but it's the bulk of the music on Spotify. In other words, it means that they only have to pay out the top tier artists, essentially. But that long tail, that's, you know, that literally went in right when they started doing audiobooks, because they realized, oh, the audiobooks it's taken up a huge cut. We've got to pay publishers more. Anyhow, it's a long fiasco.
Record label shenanigans.
The point was, you know what? It was like, you know what? If we want to make a difference here, like, fuck that model. Fuck try to do like a higher per stream rate. Let's just go all in, give that business, music streaming business, to creators, to rights owners, you know? And we're about to be able to prove out this use case. You know, now that we've got subscriptions finally like actually going in. At this point, I've been covering all freemium. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know. If you want to disrupt the system, it's like we're coming in from a different angle on this that we believe will benefit artists, labels, and distributors, everyone more, from all the analysis we've done on it. And I mean, you know, like Spotify, I know I'm going off track here, but like Spotify, it's like when you really dig into it, it's only like 3% that's going to cover their hard costs. A lot of that's marketing, going to Joe Rogan, etc., to remain industry kings. Mm-hmm. So we believe we can make up that 3% from merch, you know, physical, digital, advertising, and ticketing. So what we're tackling.
I guess my next question would be, like, with the artists themselves, like, they've obviously used Spotify and you know, Tidal and these other streaming platforms and realize they're kind of getting a raw deal. How like content are they with the arrangement that you guys have at Hio?
I mean, literally at the Junos last week, people were like, why have I not heard of this? So, I mean, right now we're doing a big equity raise. And that's to, like, you know, just finish acquiring content. It's to like market the shit out of this over the next 2 years and hit our first 1 million users. Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, when I lay this out for other artists, like I tour with a band, Broken Social Scene. I've seen all sides of the music industry, from indie up to, I mean, we had Meryl Streep on a stage with us a couple years ago. Like, I've gotten to see all sides of it. And you've got everyone from Taylor Swift. I mean, there was a long time where she was pulling her catalog off. You've got Snoop complaining about it. Like, these are the top tier artists who are actually making a big chunk of that pool, and they're not happy with it. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's blood in the water right now. It's literally, it's, it doesn't take much to hear people complaining about it. I mean, yeah, you can get a lot of streams if you get sucked up into the right algorithm, and that will pay. Some artists are winning in that equation, but for the most part, they're not actually they can't, afford to have they're not really making their living off of those streams. It's the same thing with like Instagram. Are you making your living off Instagram even if you've got 200,000 followers? No, you're trying to like monetize that in different ways.
Yeah. And like, I think that was one of the major complaints about like streaming and things of that nature, even before that, Napster, where like it kind of took all the money out of the industry, and now the artists have to sign these like 360 deals and like give up, portions of money that they would have been able to earn like all to themselves prior to streaming. Now they have to like cut the label in because the label's not making money off like selling records and singles and things like that. Right.
Exactly. 100%. And, we're trying to allow artists to make more on all those pieces, including music streaming, right? Like the whole thing is like, okay, well, I guess we're not making anything from streaming, so we're going to have to get into these other pies. Yeah. They've just are basically labels accepted that they're getting, it's like, okay, well, music streaming is press. But we're coming at it like, no, actually, there is revenue to be made here. And, but I mean, you've got everyone from like Lucien Grange, who runs the most powerful music company, Universal, him saying the music streaming model is fucked. And it's like, but he was in the room. Like, he was like complicit, if not complacent, in 2009 when they made those deals. But it's interesting because at that time, the labels didn't know, how it was going to work out, how much money was going to be made on streaming. And so they took a big chunk of shares in Spotify. And then over the years, they sold off those shares and they got to keep those profits. And now they're stuck with that model that they signed up for. And, and, the lion's share isn't going to labels. I mean, like Daniel Ek made more than the top three most popular artists on Spotify last year. It's something like, like vastly more than anybody on the platform. Now, I'm not saying like people shouldn't get paid for their things, but it's like, how is Joe Rogan getting paid $200 million for his podcast? When, it's just like that $200 million is money that was made off the backs of artists.
Yeah.
That's my take on it anyhow. I'm not to discredit Joe Rogan or whether he's, worth money or not, but that money is getting paid to him from a music streaming company. Is that music streaming company paying? I mean, I think Drake did make a deal with like Apple, but like for the most part, the musicians who've built those music streaming products off, it's like they're not getting.
Yeah, not everybody has Drake's bargaining power to cut a deal with Apple.
Yeah, they're not getting cut those checks. It's like, what I mean? Like, where's the money from those checks coming from? So anyhow.
So that's an interesting point because you are an artist first and foremost. Like I met you as a crypto guy at the Plan B crypto conference, but you are actually like a rock star, like a musician, right?
I mean, I'll take it. I do get, I mean, I've spent the last 20 years making music, touring. The last 7 years have been touring with the band Broken Social Scene. But yeah, I mean, I ended up I released 4 records in June. But it's interesting because for me right now, my creative output is on Heo, right? Like when I put music out, you know, I played one show in El Salvador last month. It's not my like main focus. Like,
Yeah.
my lifeblood is going into Hio right now. But yeah, I mean, I've played hundreds of shows for my own stuff. Like, I've put out, you know, a dozen records under different band names, etc. It's, you know, it's the one thing I always thought you could do until you die. Like my great grandmother, Amy, she lived to 107. She played the piano until she was 107.
Nice.
So I always thought like music is the coolest thing to like, you know, just connect with other people. And yeah, I would just love to see, you know, like our brightest minds right now. If you're a kid who's, you know, you just got out of high school, would you go into music? There's enough information out there about the fact that there's no music, very little
No
money.
money.
Like these kids should be like encouraged to be musicians because it actually makes a difference in people's lives. I mean, but right now it's like if you come out of school, you're gonna like you should start a tech company or start.
Yeah, all the smart people either go into tech or finance, right? Like algorithmic trading or
I mean, I say that I'm like, I run a tech company. So, you know, but it's like our mission is for creators. That's my jam.
No, I think it's super critical that people know that like Hio is made by musicians for musicians. Like the fact that you've been in the music industry for 20 years like gives you a lot of credibility in identifying like problems in the music industry and then providing like a verifiable solution.
Yeah, I mean, if, you know, our chief innovation officer, Arabian Prince, he was in a little band called NWA.
Yeah.
Band I wasn't listened to as a kid. But like, you know, just having him fucking amped on this too, it's like, you know, he was in a band with Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, and like, you know, it's like they were, you know, they made such an impact on the planet. But yeah, he's in the mix, you know, like after like Straight Outta Compton came out, he started his first video game company. And then he got into AR and VR and he did graphics for like Silver Surfer and a bunch of stuff. He's like a self-proclaimed Willy Wonka. But I just love jamming ideas with him because, you know, our heads are both, you know, he's seen all sides of it, you know, and he tried to integrate Bitcoin, I think in 2011 into like one of his games, like early Bitcoin. So, yeah, I mean, like we've got a very interesting mix of creatives on the team who have all had a hand in, you know, in music, whether they've got gold records on their wall or like everybody's put out records. It's like, yeah, I mean, we're here because we want to make a difference and we're able to tie in, you know, I went to school for web development years and years, 20 years ago. So we're able to tie into, you know, use our superpowers to actually make a difference in music. That's what we're doing.
That's super cool.
Thank you for pointing that
out. Another question I have is like, what's your stance on AI music? Like I've seen a lot of AI music. There was that guy that got arrested because he made his own AI music and then made a bunch of bots listen to his AI music on Spotify and he got paid like a bunch of money.
I think he got 10 million off that, which is, I mean, okay, I got two thoughts on what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, okay, on that bots thing for one thing. This is why music streaming is fucked right now. Is the old model of per stream. You can bot that shit. People pay for streams. And if you're botting it, he's a great example. Yes, they can try and put like, you know, things in place to stop the botting. But like the bots are smart.
I mean, there's like click farms too, like in China with like thousands of people with like 10 cell phones each. Like,
dude, like Twitter, anything, you name it. Like if your model is on per streams, it can be farmed.
Yeah.
Right. So our jam is like, you know, it's if you want to bot Hio, you know, the bot would have to be paying money for it to go out, you know, like now the freemium model, yes, we've got a max at a per stream up to $1. The worst, like, but I mean, we've got things in place to stop that on the freemium model. But essentially, on the bigger picture of this, all monies that are going in on subscriptions are going out. So to properly bot that, you would have to be like, that's one of our main differentiators between us and most music streaming platforms. like everyone,
Yeah.
is the fact that like it's the money going in is going completely out. If you want to bot that, you'd have to, you know, put some money on the bot.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
KYC.
And then what do you think about AI music in general? Like, do you feel like it's cheating? Do you feel that artists that play instruments can harness AI to improve their music or make new music that doesn't exist yet? Or like, how do you see it?
Well, for one thing, you know, somebody just shared a video with me. It was this guy who he created a bot to be able to talk to Ableton. And Ableton is a digital audio workstation. You know, there's like Logic, Ableton. He literally set it up, and it's such a Ableton. There's a huge learning curve to figuring this platform out, right? He set up this AI bot to just talk into it. Like, I want a beat, sounds like this. You know, 4 on the floor. Give me like a soft synth pad and like this, and it was like wild.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like super cool because, like, you know, you can immediately, like, it's when you're creating music, you want the fastest way in to the flow state. And the moment that you like are like, oh, how do I get the plug in on this? Like, you're done. Like that.
Yeah.
Like, so like, you know, there's certain producers I've seen who are so, you know, just so good at those programs that there's no, you know, there's no friction point. But for most artists, when you're getting into music, you know, it's a major friction point, is like trying to learn not just your instrument, but if you want to be recording at home, like, you got to really
learn the software. And
so I think that is incredible, taking out that friction. Now, with AI music just being pumped out, like we were talking about earlier, with like Spotify setting up production shops and pumping out mediocre, well, I mean, maybe it's incredible.
I think you're being kind.
But like, you know, if that's going into the pool of music that you are paying out from, right? All 100 million songs are in this pool, plus like all the AI songs, and then you're paying out a fraction to what percent an artist actually of the total streams got. In like, that's another way that the pooling of streams and splicing it up like doesn't make any sense. You know, so AI music, and Spotify got called out for it, is, you know, them putting in more content so they don't have to pay out as much. That's wild.
Do you think they all do that? They all kind of like rig it against the artist like that? Like, do you think Tidal's doing the same thing? And you know, there's other
I mean, did you just say Tidal?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the bigger the pie of like music streaming platforms and how much market share they have, they don't even have a percent. Like, it's like so minimal. But it's also the interesting thing about Tidal, when we're talking about per stream rate, actually, people are like, well, but they pay out more. It's actually that they just don't have as many listeners. So the pie, like when people talk about per stream, it's actually it's the average works out to say 0.004 cents in my case. Every month it does change with what actual percentage is getting paid out. With Tidal, they don't have as many listeners, so there's not as much. How does that work out? Essentially, if Tidal had as many listeners as Spotify, the pie would roughly be 0.004 cents per stream. You know, it's that, like, I think, you know, with Tidal, it's just that, yeah, it was founded by musicians, but like none of those dudes are like, they're not spending 12 hours a day working on that product. Yeah,
I would say like it's Jay-Z, right? And like,
yeah,
like rap people are not known for like treating their artists well.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually called pro rata is the model of, you pool all the streams and you pay out like based on what percentage of the listens all these artists got. But Tidal it's the same shit.
Yeah.
Tidal, Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, they all pay out. They take their 30% payout on a pro rata pooled model that just people are complaining about. So you know, we're just taking a different approach.
Yeah, well, it's good to see. Ryder, we're going to wind down the interview, but is there any like last things that you want to say to the audience? Do you want to give them information on how they could invest in your capital raise or anything like that?
I mean, hit us up. It's you know, info@hiomusic.com. Will find us. Yeah, we'd love to have anybody who's interested in making a difference in music be part of this. Obviously, we're on, you know, Twitter at Hio Music app. We're on Instagram, Hio Music Forever. And yeah, I mean, we'd love to have you. Obviously, the Hio exists. Our rewards token is on Radium, and you know, the future of that is bright. We found it's found its bottom, and now it's like, okay, we're focused on the app. That's our product one. Product two is the, you know, our main product, which is a killer music app. And so over the next year, with this raise and the marketing and everything, and building more utility and more, you know, for the token, I'm excited to see where that goes. But yeah, I mean, we're here delivering, and take 1 minute, sign up, try it out, and yeah, that's
Cool.
the jam.
Right on. Well, Ryder, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was good to catch up with you and find out what you've been up to since I talked to you last. And yeah, it's been a blast talking about it.
Ricardo, it's such a pleasure, man. It was like what a synchronicity was strong that day when I ran into you the first time.
Indeed. Well,
right.
Thanks again, man.
Yeah, thank you.